Quickly, put the preparation on your sword.
Okay, here goes.
Thank you.
Thank me? For what?
Killing me.
Who says I'm going to kill you?
Quickly! The body is dying. We must get Kamiko into it before it's too late. Amiona! Leave my daughter's body! Very well. Then I will extract you.
Kill her, now, before my father can doom her and trap me.
Wait,
I wish
is that a vital
killing
body
you
part?
would accomplish something.
Is this a party or a funeral? Why the long faces?
Uncle Zing?
What's going on here?
I was attempting to reseal the gates, but this peon has destroyed my best efforts, and very likely doomed us all.
I just wanted to pet the rabbits, George. You impetuous fool!
The situation does sound a tad bleak.
There is another way. This place is a soul well, is it not?
It is.
Rather than sealing the gates closed with my sacrifice, let us seal them open with my living soul.
Utter nonsense.
Is it? After all, these are gates, not walls, brother. Perhaps we should align them to their purpose.
This world will not survive.
This world will change, but it will go on. I was born of this energy, and I can bend it to my will. Allow me to rectify these wounded worlds to one another. It's what I was born to do.
Incredible.
I will not be party to this madness.
Sometimes madness is the only course open to us. I will help you, child.
Okay, Kamiko, you all packed?
I try to travel light. Thank you, Wang. You've been a good friend to me, and a worthy partner.
Give 'em hell, okay?
You can rely on it.
Here we go. Hopefully she will.
Whoa, hello.
What?
That's my crowd.
Okay, that was a weird ending. I don't quite get what she means by seal them open, but I missed some of the other stuff going on anyway, so yeah, it's fine. Alright, so that was Shadow Warrior 2. This is where I typically will give my overall thoughts of the game, give it a little rating, all that. What did that say at the bottom? Press button something something? I don't know. But anyway, so it was a good game. And I might seem hesitant as I say that, but the reason is it didn't really feel like Shadow Warrior. There was too much loot, like loot micromanagement in this game. Way too much. Like when I play a FPS like this, I want to go in and just like kill shit. Maybe, you know, do a little weapon swapping now and then, you know, have to, you know, maybe a little break once in a while in town to restock up on ammo, possibly buy new weapons, do skill upgrades, things like that. But like, I don't want to craft upgrades. I don't want to sit there and it's like, okay, if I add this, like, is this more DPS than the other thing? And then like you're working with the numbers, trying to find thing that's gonna do the most damage. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, it was passable in Borderlands 2, partially because there was less upgrade slots to deal with, I think. Because I think in Borderlands you had guns. I don't remember if you could upgrade the guns, but you had like a few slots to deal with. But in this game, every weapon has 3 upgrade slots. You have 8 weapons that you can have in the weapon wheel at any given time. So if you really want to utilize that, that's 24 different upgrades to be looking at. And then you've got 3 armor upgrades on top of that, bringing us to 27. Then you have the neck upgrade, the amulet, that's 28. And then 3 more powers upgrades, which brings us to 31 different upgrade slots to be looking at. And I don't want to fiddle with all that shit when I play something like this. I want to mostly go in and kill shit. And I feel like that really drugged the game down. They were trying way too hard to be like, I didn't see it at first, but it really feels like they were trying to be Borderlands. Because you got the numbers over the head. I don't have a problem with the numbers over the head thing, personally. And you can turn that off if you want to. And that's just a graphical thing, right? Even though it's just graphical, it's also purposely meant to play into how those types of games plays, because you're supposed to be trying to get your highest damage and all of that. And the best way to know if you're doing the highest damage is, of course, to see how much damage you're actually doing. So that's why games like Diablo, Borderlands show you the damage numbers so that you can get a feel for how much of an upgrade something is, see how big the crits are, things like that. And with other games like Doom and Shadow Warrior 1, both the original and remake, you can get an idea of how much damage stuff is doing just from playing the game. But you have like a billion different weapons, 31 different upgrade slots. You like the levels are auto-generated, which Borderlands they were not, I don't think. But the idea was, oh well, we want you to play these maps over and over again, or at least have the option to play them over and over again, so that you can farm. But at the same time, it won't be boring because the maps are different. And I think that's an interesting idea. I could see where they were going with that, because if you were like wanting to farm weapons in Borderlands, and you go to the same maps are always the same, it kind of does get old seeing the same areas over and over again. But the flip side of that is when you know the layout, if you're farming, you're just farming. You're trying to get stuff killed quickly so that you can get as many items as you want. You want to do it fast. With randomly generated maps, you can't do that. On top of that, you don't have a real map in the game. You only have the mini map. So you can't open the map and see, okay, where have I been in this map? And you can't do that. So a lot of times I ended up doubling back over areas I'd been to, and I wasn't there was times where I'm like, well, if I'm trying to clear an entire map out, I can't even find where I'm supposed to go. So it was just really, really, I guess it was okay. I wouldn't really call it I think it's mostly a negative. I think the randomly generated maps is mostly a negative, but it's not a huge one. It's built more for people who are going to play this over and over again. And I feel like the number of people who do that is probably fairly small. With Diablo and Borderlands, the entire game and the whole series has been centered around doing just that type of play. Shadow Warrior has not been. And that doesn't mean it can't change, of course. But I just don't feel like there's a high number of people out there now who are just farming the hell out of Shadow Warrior 2, like going through and replaying and going through higher difficulties. And of course, there's an argument to be made. It's like, well, it's nice that they made that because in the additional difficulty levels, because it gives the game a lot of replayability. And I agree. Like that is a positive aspect of these design changes. But my thing is, I wish they would have used a different IP to make this, right? I wish they would have went with a different IP because, again, it would be like if Doom suddenly became a real-time strategy game. It's like, well, maybe it's a really great real-time strategy game, but when I play Doom, I want to play a fast-paced FPS, not an RTS or whatever. And I feel like they tried to change too much of what Shadow Warrior really is. And to me, Shadow Warrior is over-the-top violence, bloody gore, cheesy protagonists spitting out like intentionally lame one-liners, and just fast action and kills, and no regenerating health, just pretty much go. And parts of this game were definitely like that, but lots were not because of the upgrade system. It wasn't like that. And I like the skills. If they would have left all the upgrade stuff out and added skills, which actually I think the first game had the skills. Yeah, the first game had the skills as well, I believe. Because I know that you could do the press left and left click to do the AE slash, stuff like that. But if they'd have went with that, I think that would have been enough. But I feel like, or maybe a few upgrades here and there, right? Like 3 armor upgrades, 3 power upgrades, 1 upgrade per weapon, things like that. I feel like it would have been less tedious and less flow breaking. And that's the biggest crime to me, is with all these upgrade slots and all this number crunching, with all this crafting, you're breaking the flow of the game, right? You're going from go to all right, now I got to go back to town and upgrade, which on lower difficulty, that's probably much less necessary to do. You probably can just, with like, you know, especially on the mid tier difficulty and lower, you could probably just run with what you've got, slap in whatever upgrades you want, and you'll be fine. But I want higher upgrades or higher difficulty levels to be more difficult. In other words, I have to play better. It feels like the higher difficulties just mean you have to gear better. And that's not what this is about. That's not what Shadow Warrior is about. It's supposed to be about fast-paced action. Again, with Doom, the higher difficulty levels, you had to play better because there was less things to prop you up. Enemies did more damage. You did less damage, I think. I can't remember what the details are. But the point being, it wasn't like, oh, well, Doom is more difficult now because the enemies do more damage, so now you need to farm items, or you need to be more specific when you slot out items. So I guess my entire complaint about where they've taken this game is they've tried to take it in a different direction that I don't like, and I felt was completely unnecessary to take it in, because I feel like focusing just on the fast-paced action aspect of the game, they could have still made a great game. It's not like it's an old genre. I mean, it is an old genre, but it's not tired and played out. And I think it's just looping the credits now. And we'll stop the credits as soon as I'm done, and we'll see if there's anything after credits. But aside from the gameplay elements, visually it looked fantastic. It looked really nice. I did have a lot of issues too with enemies just doing damage to you and not knowing why. Hitboxes were really bad in this game. I'm surprised more people didn't bring up the hitboxes, because we've seen multiple cases where enemies very, very clearly do not hit the player, but you take damage anyway. That happens quite often and really hurts a lot, because the whole point of having like the dodge and higher difficulty levels, again, is dodging these attacks, getting out of the way, etc. If you dodge and the game hits you anyway, that's really, really shitty. Like, that's really bad. Like, how they could have let such bad hitbox issues go live is pretty mind-blowing, quite honestly. And really should not be acceptable, frankly. And also the auras, I feel like the auras of the enemies was just really, like a really lazy way to add difficulty, where, oh, this enemy has toxic aura, so if you get close to the enemy, you take toxic damage. If this enemy has electric aura, you get in close, you take electric damage. It was like, really? Like, that's what you came up with? Like, the other benefits, or the other tags, or whatever you want to call them, like sturdy, or fat, like the spirit, the ones that ran fast, or the ones that regenerated, or the ones that did extra damage, things like that. That's interesting. That makes them a little different, so you have to handle them differently. Just slapping an aura on them that makes you take damage from getting into melee range, like that's really, I don't know, again, it just comes off as lazy and bland. It's not interesting at all. There's no way to avoid it other than staying far away, which with a lot of enemies is pretty much impossible, because they'll either warp on top of you, which is a whole nother complaint I have with the whole enemies getting too far away, and they always have some kind of teleport mechanic to get closer to you because the AI can't figure out how to navigate the dynamic geography. But it's pretty much impossible to stay away from them, so you're going to be taking damage from that AE aura thing. And then of course it puts a dot on you as well, or at least I think their hits do. It's kind of hard to tell what caused what in this game. So that was another big negative. They're going to definitely used to be a little bit more go over with someone who's very well known in English. Probably obviously not me, since I can't even properly word that, because there were some descriptions of some abilities which just didn't make sense. or were not very clear. A lot of things weren't really clear in this game, like what the various benefits did. Some enemies, it was very obvious. But other buffs, I don't even know, traits of enemies, I guess we'll say, didn't make sense. Like you get that necklace too that says increases your exotics. Like, okay, well, what the hell is exotic? A lot of things like that weren't explained or weren't explained very well. But again, the action itself, once you're in the game and fighting and dodging and using your abilities and all that, was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable. And it's, you know, that nice fast-paced action that Shadow Warrior 1 had, but I just really don't like the direction they took it. As far as the overall rating, where like a 1 is absolutely worst game ever made, 10 is a near perfect game, 5 would be a game that has just about equal negatives and positives. It's not a good game, but it's not a bad game either. It has good parts, it has bad parts, and equal parts, I guess you would say. What would I rate this? Off the cuff, I would say around 6.5 to 7. And again, to me, 7 isn't bad. A lot of places, IGN, will say pretty much rag on a game and say it's bad and then give it a 7. 7 is still good. Even a 6 is still good. It's like, it's got more positive than good. But there were just way too many weak points that kind of made me grind my teeth and just go, I've got to deal with this crap again. So I would probably rate it a 7, not a 6.5. I feel like there were more positives of this game, but again, like the boss fights, all the boss fights were bad. They were just very formulaic, and especially on a higher difficulty, it was basically just wail on this enemy for 10 minutes and hope that you don't get killed, because you had to do it all over again. And again, there might have been some, like something I was doing with my weapons where I was supposed to be at like 500 DPS or something insane like that. But again, like just digging through the numbers and spending like 10 minutes crafting and all that shit, like that gets boring to me in a game like this. If I was playing an RPG or something along those lines, it'd be fine. But in this, I just don't have the patience for it. But so, you know, part of that would have been helped probably just by trying to max, but I still feel like I had pretty high level upgrades and still was taking forever to beat down a boss. But anyway, but yeah, about a 7, 6.5 to a 7. As far as a price that I would suggest, price being like what I think you should pay for this game. I'm gonna hit a button because I'm about over that song. Like it's an okay song, but it's braying on a little too long. But as far as the price, if you're a big fan of fast-paced FPS, there aren't that many out there. There's too many like duck behind a wall and regen type games. They're more slow-paced, aka built for controllers. So if you really like this type of game, then I would say 40 to 50 would be fair, especially if you like the Borderlands format. If you like going through areas multiple times, slowly getting upgrading your gear, making yourself do more damage so that you can do higher difficulties, so that you can get better gear, things like that. If you like that format for an FPS, and especially since the game has multiplayer now, and that's something you're also interested in, I would definitely say full price, 50, even, I don't think it was $60, I think it was a $50 game. But even up to $60, I think it'd be worth it, because I feel like you are gonna get a lot of play out of this. Again, especially if you like the multiplayer aspect. I feel like you're really gonna get your money's worth out of this. If you're gonna play through it one time, and or you're not very interested in the whole micromanaging loot aspect, you're probably only gonna go through once. You're still gonna enjoy it for the most part, I believe. So I would still say around the 40-ish, at least 40, maybe even the full 50. I don't feel like, even though I raised a lot of negatives with the game, I feel like I got my money's worth out of it. I played it quite a lot. You know, I did mess with the crafting, and it was a lot of fun. So I definitely still feel like I got my money's worth. I didn't like this as much as the first one, let's put it that way. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thanks again to Travis D for your continued support on Patreon. Make sure you guys leave comments. Let me know what you thought of this playthrough in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you next time.